start with the Daily Graphic and its reporting this morning towards good parliamentary democracy. Hybrid system won't work. Now, a retired Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice Jones Doche, says the current hybrid parliamentary system where members of parliament can serve both the executive and the legislative arms of government at the same time will not work for Ghana's democracy and good governance. He therefore urged Ghanaians to choose between a pure presidential system, or where the president appoints ministers from outside parliament, or a parliamentary system where all ministers come from parliament. This matter that we are going to back again is perhaps one of the biggest difficulties we have had. You know, the eminent committee of experts, Nana Professor SKB Asante and Co., their proposal was for a form of a parliamentary system.
Yeah. Now,
it was also another set of eminent personalities. Which do you know some of them, right?
I do.
Yes.
You know, Raymond always want to remind me that my father was part of the Consultative Assembly. Yes, I do.
Yes, thank you for understanding where I'm coming from. They also gave us what we have today.
Yeah.
Again, there's nothing wrong with people thinking about what their system has produced, the defects in the system, and improving upon it. We know that we often reference the Lehman period, but I think a better scrutiny of that period would reveal that the bigger problem was not that people were outside parliament, as in ministers were not ministers, so they were not mindful of their responsibilities. And again, nobody in this republic can tell me that rejecting a budget is in and of itself a bad idea.
No, it
happens.
happens.
If the budget is it's not a terrible budget. I hope you get the point. But we build political systems, I think for a very long time, we're looking at more peace than delivering a proper system. I just want us to be mindful that we can have a constitution that is so organic and living that it will respond to all times and all situations. I don't know which constitution in the world does that. The problem is the human beings that operate the constitution.
Thank you.
Which we sometimes fail to recognize and deal with.
Ray, I'm so glad you said this.
We consistently create the impression that we are so special, that we are power drunk to the highest level, and that we cannot be law abiding. We cannot respect limitations in constitutions, which we call constitutionalism. We cannot be people who just operate with the laws. We are so ignorant, and on the other hand, we just love power so much that we will abuse everything given the opportunity, almost as if we cannot fix that question. And I insist, if you appoint the right person, if you appoint the right people, if your people are proper values, they will see that there is a limited constitution they can work with. And all over the world, students today are still critiquing the U.S. Constitution. They are critiquing constitutions in other evolved countries, still delivering the goals. Indeed,
well,
if you hear of the kind of critique people make of that of Switzerland, Finland, and other places where their human development index is predominantly high, you'll be shocked. But yet, it is delivering the goals. The question we should be asking ourselves is that what kind of people are we, even if we are given the Bible as our constitution? Will we be able to operate it the way we ought to operate it?
We will not.
That is where my difficulty is.
We will not, because look, in a country where the exception becomes the norm.
Yes.
So, for instance, we said, procurement. Let me just use procurement as an example. You must go through competitive tendering. But we acknowledge there may be challenges. So there may be times that you cannot go through competitive tendering. So under those circumstances, you go to through single source, what we've termed sole sourcing, or restrictive tendering. We have actually made restrictive tendering and sole sourcing or single sourcing as the standard. That it becomes the norm. So our constitution was actually passed, and you've made a very good point. You've heard Professor Kofi Abuchi consistently saying that the problem, and you've heard Professor Tuguba as well, the problem with our constitution is in its implementation. The persons who are implementing it. So you expect that, he would do things differently. But the man looks at it and says, this is an opportunity to actually, one, achieve my parochial interest. So why not go through it like that? I do not support a system of government where we say, because that whole idea that because a government's budget was rejected.
Yeah.
So are we suggesting that when the budget is wrong, it's bad? We can't reject it.
That's the point.
So we want business as usual. I think the retired justice of the Supreme Court has said that we should either go for the parliamentary system or we go for the American system.
Yeah.
I think that the Ghanaian that I know will not thrive in a parliamentary system. If you make all ministers members of parliament, it won't work. So, if you want
Because it should be possible, for example, for ministers to stand up like Rishi Sunak and Co did against Boris Johnson and said, listen, my conscience no longer allows me to work with you. I'm resigning. I do not think that you have the interests of the state at heart. Our people,
they won't do
in our
that.
hearts.
They won't do that. So if you want to be a member of parliament, go and hold the executive accountable. The president can then decide to appoint ministers outside parliament. We don't want any member of parliament as minister. Appoint people so that when they go to parliament, they know that they have to work. Okay, because now when they go to parliament, and I mean, for all of us who've worked as parliamentary correspondents, you hear, president who non deputy minister, na minister Bima. That's all they do. They must praise the president. So they, so that the president will make them a deputy minister or a minister. That is the only reason why people go to parliament in this country.
So as usual, it's not the constitution that's the problem. It's not the law that's the problem. In this country, it's always the squeegee, organic human bit in the middle. That is the problem. Yes. It's always the human factor. Yes. That's the problem. Look, there's nothing fundamentally wrong with having a hybrid system. Yeah. Except that we decided to take the worst of the two systems to make ours. A hybrid, Dianka, you take the best. Right? You find a way of making these two systems check each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Evolve something new.
But no, we decided, no. We'll have everything. We'll have parliament. We'll have, judiciary, all of these things. We'll have the executive. But we will write the laws in such a way that it's just the executive. It's really just the executive. Our president, under a constitution, under a democracy, has more power than most dictators. And you see, look at how we implement the constitution. Winston talked about how we operate in the exceptions. So as long as the thing is legal, we will do it. We have committed atrocities just because the law allowed us, or there was a way to do it without breaking the law. Where else in this world can you appoint people to man a sector that is failing and people are dying? Look, even when one person dies, you ought to get rid of every person you've appointed who failed to save that life. But in this country, the president doesn't have to explain himself to anyone. He doesn't have to even justify why a person can continue superintending over a failed sector. He doesn't have to. And we say we have a constitution. I mean, it's abominable.
Okay, so there are other stories, but this one, let's do some. APC will prioritize people's welfare. Ayaga, he over the weekend launches manifesto, and VRA senior staff petition speaker over proposed measure. VRA senior staff, they are petitioning speaker over proposed measure. Yeah, they are against it. Yeah, I see.
Have they given some reasons?
Oh yes, they've been doing. I don't know if it's demonstration or protest on that. Well. If measure will make the system better, I do not think anybody should be opposed to it. But if measure will create more problems, we can all support your opposition to it. The interest of the measure, happening or not happening, cannot be the welfare of the VRA staff alone. You get what I'm trying to say? I get you. Because today you have VRA staff, tomorrow it might not be VRA staff. VRA will continue.
This is going to create a lot of problems, and they say it actually will lead to an increase in tariff. We can sit down and
yes,
check
deal with these matters essentially. So yes, and make Africa arbitration hub for foreign cases. That's the Attorney General speaking. There is something that a very old lawyer told me some time ago. He's been in this ministry before. He said sometimes some of our people choose foreign places or agree when they are constructing or when they are drafting agreements, choose foreign places for arbitration and for resolution of conflicts and everything related to that. Why? Because those days when you traveled, you got some per diem and other things, and they helped out. So you look into the future, and you know that things may happen.
Imagine.
But there's another story that you should be interested in, Kojo. Why a professor is not a senior lecturer? So yes, they say journalists, they advise you. This thing, we should have been crying over that virtually every day, but we can admit it, and we should learn from that.
Exactly. Yeah.
You move from senior lecturer to associate professor. Then professor. So it is difficult to say Professor Raymond Aqua. No, let me use somebody who is truly a professor. Professor Ras, for example, as is being used here. Senior lecturer.
Political science.
Yeah, no. I think that Professor Jampo has not been attacking people like the way some of us. He knows. He will say, hey, don't let them say that.
Yeah, it's an education thing, right?
Yes,
we have
yes,
to explain
please. Yeah.
that a senior lecturer is actually a position. It's a position. It's a hierarchy. It's a rank, right? So you get there before you become an associate professor, and then you become professor, and then it goes very well.
So this is assistant lecturer, lecturer, senior lecturer, associate professor, professor. So
Professor Emeritus.
So assistant lecturer, lecturer, senior lecturer, associate professor, professor. A professor cannot be a senior lecturer. Ever. So, and like Israel Agoso would say, you can do as is done in the West. Dr. Ransford Jampo, professor, political science. So he goes with his, if he has a PhD, so he's a doctor. If he doesn't have a PhD, Ransford Jampo, professor of this. It's as simple as that.
But in the United States, in the United States, a professor is just a teacher in a college.
Yes.
But here it's a rank.
It's a rank.
It's a rank you study for and achieve.
It's a rank like in the UK.
Yes. So we are using the UK system, I believe.
Yes.
So let us stick to that, because in the United States, professor the
Oh no. In the United, once you get in there, some countries start from assistant professor. To professor. So once you start, you're an assistant professor. Then so anybody who starts teaching at the university is a professor. But in Ghana, when you start, you're assistant lecturer. Lecturer. Senior lecturer.
I've not seen anybody use assistant lecturer.
No, you don't hear anyone using assistant lecturer.
Maybe we don't talk to assistant lecturers.
Maybe.
Are they not the teaching assistants?
No,
they're teaching
graduate
assistant.
So in fact, it's teaching assistant lecturer.
No, those ones they're
Those ones they
They are not even part of
No, they are not part of
They are
the
not
system.
even in the system.
Yes.
So thank you, Israel Agoso. The Ghanaian Times says, agricultural productivity, food security, PFJ 2.0 initiative makes giant strides as grains, listen to this, livestock, poultry, egg production soar nationwide. That's according to Dr. Brian Echampong.
Please read it again.
I am telling you that he says, look, there's massive production. There's an increase in grains, livestock, poultry, and egg production in the country. And so PFJ 2.0 initiative is making giant strides.
Barely 2 months ago, I was asking, what's the evidence of progress? You told me that they just started planting.
So
in
maybe
2
that's
months,
where it is.
in 2 months, we have made all the giant. Look at his face.
Yes, you are right.
Maybe they planted a lot.
Oh, giant.
So
but
we are
you see,
waiting for the crop.
it is in this country. I've seen it. I'm going to do.
See, there can be progress with time.
Yeah.
We should not be in a hurry to pretend that we've made a lot of progress within the period. And we know why. Because, see, maybe I don't have a farm, but I interface with food products at the other end. You get what I'm trying to say? If you go to Domi Market today, the woman will explain to you. No, they say there's no maize anywhere. So we are struggling together. That's why it's this expensive. And they'll give you all the other factors that affect that. You dismiss half of what they are saying and talk to the farmers too. We're just having a conversation with, is it peasant farmers also? So it's okay for us to be futuristic about dividends from programs like this. We should not be in a hurry to name them, which will now make people think that you are doing it for propaganda's sake. They will defeat or undermine the program in and of itself.
My understanding is that when there is increase in food production, the price reduces.
Yeah, I see. Generally, the theory is
The
simple.
theory.
It's simple.
And I am going to cite one. Tomato.
Yeah.
Tomato. Today, the cost of tomato on the market is low because you can feel it. Why? Didn't I go and buy, rice bran and other things and maize for feed preparation recently? Everything has gone up.
You know what it is? It's a symptom of what we always do. We mark ourselves on the input and not the output. So what? Maybe some seeds have gone into the ground. Some large quantity of seeds have gone into the ground. So they are calling it increased production. But how many of these seeds will turn into crops? How many of these seeds have been planted on irrigated land where the crops have a chance of surviving without rainfall? When it's harvest season for these plenty seeds, how much will we harvest? We don't care about output. We only care about inputs because that's what we can use to make headlines. That's what we can use to sell our political whatever message. And we need to start departing from that. Okay, we need to bring a little bit more honesty into governance. I mean, it's not like you are telling this story to people who live under a rock. We all live in this country. We all go out to the market. We all buy food. Okay. So who exactly are you deceiving?
Coach, I also hear reform laws on international arbitration. Dami urges African countries we don't undermine contestants in elections. EC Chairman, there's somebody you would know, Professor John Kweku Mensah-Mautor.
Oh, he's a professor.
Professor.
But to me, he's my main man. So says, I don't know.
He says, so if we will call him Chairman K.
You can't call him that.
No, I call him Chairman K.
Oh, okay.
If he's your main man, you say,
yeah.
Because if you have to, you must address him as professor.
Okay.
But in case he's your main man, you say Chairman K. He says, you're right. Assistant lecturers are those who possess master's certificates in MPhil. It's just an entry point.
Yeah.
So you study assistant lecturer. Then as you write, then you rise. Well, we call him Chairman K.
Okay, yeah.
You can't call
but
him.
Full professor.
Yes. No, ASO Prof. I think it's ASO Prof.
Okay.
I would have to check. The last time he was made an ASO Prof, that was 2 years ago. I'll check.
Some people were saying he was incoming vice chancellor.
He is actually.
He's already vice chancellor.
Incoming.
Incoming vice chancellor of UPSA.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
The council has approved him as the incoming vice chancellor.
So vice chancellor elect. Oh, okay. Prof.
Oh,
Chairman
congratulations
K.
to him.
Yeah. Anyway.
By the way, PFJ 2.0, since we've talked about it, it's important for us to mention that there are so many facets to this new planting for food and jobs. So if we are measuring its success, it shouldn't just be about how many seeds went into the ground, right? These aggregators and all of that. I mean, how are their businesses doing? The investments they've made, are they reaping the benefits, right? Those who are supposed to, provide inputs and then get paid with the output, have they been paid? Have they made their money back? I mean, these are some of the things we should be using to measure whether PFJ 2.0 is working, not just how many seeds went into the ground. Just saying.
Now, let me bring you what the New Finder is reporting this morning. Pro-fraud cases within banking sector. That's Kumado speaking. And China-Ghana trade hits $6 billion in the first quarter of 2024. The next one is that Ghana needs $12 billion funding to achieve universal access to wash services by 2030.
Right. Okay.